Hello guys, today we're going to be video on Horizon Zero Dawn using the Steam Deck. I'm going to be going ahead and revisiting this game since the last time I did this video. There was a bug with SteamOS where the overlay would cause stuttering and some performance issues. So it's been a while now, like a couple of months. So I'm going back and revisiting it and seeing if the performance is any better compared to what it was originally. Alright, we're starting it off with 800p on the lowest settings right now, and the FPS seems about the same, but the main thing we want to focus on is the stuttering. That was a major issue with this game, and this wasn't really the case with the other PlayStation games. Spider-Man runs great, Days Gone is pretty good as well. We had the same issue with God of War, where it would stutter heaps, but that got fixed and it's running pretty great now as well. So Horizon Zero Dawn is the last game, and at first glance we can see the game's performance is still pretty bad. We're still getting major stuttering and frame drops at low settings anyway, which is a bit disappointing, but we can always compare it to the original video and see if it's happening as often and if it's as major. Now we just had a major dip into the 20s, the low 20s, and which I don't think happened with the original video, but it seems like the same issue as No Man's Sky, where the CPU usage will spike up to 99% and FPS will drop like crazy. Now ideally for this game you want to play at 30 FPS, anything above will probably make it too CPU intensive, and the stuttering will be more aggressive and more intensive. So if we look at the overlay right now, we're pulling 9 watts on the GPU alone, which will leave us around with 6 watts of power left for the CPU. So in those more CPU intensive scenes, the CPU will need more power than it has available to it, which will cause us to have FPS drops and stuttering. So a 30 FPS cap will give you enough headroom on your CPU to hopefully avoid the stuttering and FPS drop. So far we've had 2 incidents where we've actually dropped down into the low 20s at those settings 3 times now when I'm going across the bridge. Now it kind of sucks to say this, but this feels about the same performance as the old update where we had a stuttering issue with the overlay. But yeah, let's go try this out with a 30 FPS cap and see if there's any difference. Now something to keep in mind is the actual settings in this game. They don't fully apply always, they might run into some issues here and there, so you might have to restart the game for them to actually apply properly. Okay, now playing the game at 30 FPS, 800p low, we can see the actual power dynamic is flipped. Beforehand, we were pulling 9 watts from the GPU, now we're pulling them from the CPU. Alright, now looking at the game's performance, we're getting some stuttering here and there. It's not perfect. And getting into the fight, we're getting more stuttering, so honestly, again, it feels like not much has been changed. Which is a bit weird, because we had a bug which would cause stuttering if the overlay was enabled. And that's been fixed now, but still getting the same issues as before. Now let's go ahead and go across the bridge. This is a major, yeah, there we go. Stuttering again. Falling into the 20s. So, I don't know, there's not much we can do here. I'm gonna go ahead and try out FSR and see if we can get even more headroom for the CPU, but I'm not sure. Okay, so I look back on the recording, and even though we're running the game at 30 FPS at 800p, in those heavier fight scenes, we were still pulling 6 watts of power, which was taking away power from the CPU, which was again causing us to have frame drops and stutters into the 20s. So, playing the game with FSR, with the in-game FSR at balanced settings, still at low settings, should hopefully see a better improvement, less stuttering, and this area for sure is performing better as well. Still got one there, but we can forgive that. Fighting is much better compared to running at native. So ideally you want to play at those lowest settings, low to medium, and you definitely want to use FSR to give yourself as much headroom as possible for your CPU to not stutter or have slowdowns. Now I know it's not for everyone, but if you want to get the smoothest experience out of this game, you want to play at those lower settings. The Steam Deck's GPU can handle those higher settings for sure, but we are being power limited here, so you're forced to play on those lower settings to give the power to your CPU to make it run smoother, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is, I guess. Okay, now going over the bridge, we can see that the stuttering is still here, and it is quite intensive still. We're falling into the mid-20s, so we just need some extra headroom for the CPU, which we can't get anymore, so the stuttering will remain. Okay, so I went ahead and disabled the overlay, just in case it was causing us to have lag spikes or stuttering issues, and I'm going to run across the bridge and see if we're going to have any stuttering. That's a major spot. And without even us getting there, it's still stuttering, so I don't think overlay is causing us to have slowdowns, to be honest. Okay, so I increased the graphical settings a little bit to medium/high in some cases. And we are going to run the game at 30 FPS and see if we can have a good experience without being forced into the lowest settings. We are using FSR here, set to balanced. And the game is running quite well. We were only playing 3 watts, but as we know, the game will get more intensive than this and will require more power from the GPU. So might have the same old stuttering issues as we did at 800 low without FSR. And now fighting seems pretty good as well. It's running very smoothly so far, which is always a good sign. And let's see if we can actually fight a bit more. Where's this guy? Yeah, fighting seems pretty good. We had a major stutter beforehand at low settings, and even at 30 FPS, just running the game with native would cause us to have stutters when we were fighting. But with these settings, it's running quite good. Now going over the bridge will always give us a stutter, so this isn't going to be changed. Yep, still falling into the 20s. The high 20s this time. Quite good. Okay, so I went back and looked at the original video. I was using the system-wide FSR instead of the in-game FSR for that video. But even then, it's pretty much the same resolution between the two. And we're getting far more stuttering happening in that video than we are in this one. This actually ran a little better at 30 FPS with those optimized settings. So there's definitely been a fix, but you won't see it if you have your FPS uncapped. Alright, now playing at 40 FPS, I want to see if we can actually do this. If I was going to guess, I would say that this isn't playable at 40. We can easily fall into the 30s, that's why I capped it at 30 FPS. But if you play at low settings with performance FSR, maybe 40 FPS is possible, but you're losing all your quality for 10 extra frames and a bit more smoothness and fluidity with your aim, but I don't think it's worth it, to be honest. Now, as you can see in the fighting scenes, we are still stuttering. It's not as major as an uncapped frame rate, but it's still happening versus 30 FPS where we had no stuttering at all during the fights. Alright, so for the video, guys, made this far, I appreciate you. As always, if you like what you see, then a sub and a like would be appreciated as well. See you next time.